This short video will look at paper 2, question 2. This is your summary question. It's 8 marks, 8 minutes, possibly 10, depending on how long you spend on question 1. But AQA recommend 8 minutes, but 10 is fine if you're rounding up, of course. Your summary question seems to trip a few students up, so let's go through it and make sure you're happy with it. This is a question that you need to compare both sources. If you don't compare both sources, your mark will be held back. So you need to make sure that you can look at both source A and B. And when you're summarizing, you're taking a larger text, and of course you're selecting information to make it shorter. So read the question carefully. It sounds like a cliche, but it's absolutely true. So in this question that we have in front of us here from a past paper, both sources describe the similar ways in which drivers behave. That's the context that we're looking for. So we now know the area of focus for the question. Use details from both sources to write a summary of what you understand about the similar behavior of the drivers. The question's about drivers' behaviors, so we know where we're looking. And the other focus we're looking for is whether we're looking for similarities or differences. It won't be both, it will be one or the other. So please make sure, again, you read the question carefully. We know in this question we are looking for the similar behavior of the drivers. Therefore, logic dictates if the source A, if the drivers in source A are driving and behaving badly, then of course they are in source B. So we know exactly what we're looking for in both sources. And the opposite is true too. If we're looking for differences and the behavior in source A is really good, then of course the behavior in source B must be really bad. So we know exactly what we're looking for there. So please make sure that you know what you are looking for from the question, in this case, how the drivers behave, and how you are looking for that, similarities or differences. We already know it's 8 marks and 8 minutes, and the way you will write your answer up for this one is point, evidence, explain. So for the first text, for source A, make your point that answers the question, a clear and relevant answer to the question. How do the drivers behave? Well or not so well? Then you can back it up with quotes. And every time you make a point, you've got to back it up with quotes. We want to get away from opinion to show informed opinion, to show that you've read and selected from the text to show your opinion is true and valid response and relevant response. And then we can go into the overriding skill, the most important skill, which is explaining yourself. And to explain yourself, think why. Why are the drivers in this case behaving the way they do? Why is everything? Okay, you have to explain the why. If we look at the example from AQA, so we're looking for the similar behavior of the two drivers in the text, or the drivers in the two texts. One driver in source A, quote, decided to overtake my bike very closely and at speed. And then we have that inference, that explanation in the student's own words, which shows he behaved in a reckless way, risking the other person's safety. So we've got our quote in there, our explanation as well. And then we've got our comparison in source B. The drivers behave in a very similar and inconsiderate way towards cyclists, as they, quote, love to share your handlebars and wheels, passing so close. And our explanation of inference again, showing they are not behaving very respectfully or carefully to drive so close to the cyclist. So of course the behavior is very negative in both source A and source B. So it's selecting information to highlight that and show that, and then explain why those things might be happening in the texts in comparison. And point, evidence, explain will be able to enforce that for you. So your remembrances here, remember to focus on the subject only, not the writer's opinions of those subjects so much and viewpoints. That will come in question 4, just the subject only. Read the question, make sure you're looking for similarities or differences, and make sure that you know what the focus of the question is. Think logically. If you're looking for similarities, you're looking for the same pieces of evidence from both texts. If for differences, obviously you're looking for opposing viewpoints. Make sure that your points are clear and relevant with point, evidence, explain. You must compare. You must focus more heavily on, rather than on any kind of point or terminology that you may get in, but there's no need really for terminology here. It's mostly points and evidence. It's focus on those explanations in full. Okay, the key is to say a lot about a little. Move away from level 2 responses, which is a comment telling the examiner what they already know from the text, to level 3, explain why clearly and relevantly in your own words and opinions. And level 4, go even further, analyze the text, really question them. Why are the writers having that viewpoint? Why do the source material, in this case, the drivers, behave in the way they do? What's the purpose? What's the moral of the story? Why are they acting and behaving and thinking and feeling the way they are? And the further you explore the why, the higher your mark can be within it. So just to go back for summary, 8 marks, point, evidence, explain, compare in 10 minutes. Identify whether it's similarities or differences and about what, and then write your answers up confidently, carefully, clearly, and relevantly.